Hi friends, I am Jitendra. Today we will going to see how to connect Google Contact API with Mule ESB. So what is a Google API? Okay, basically Google have various services like Google YouTube, Google Translate, Google Contact, Google Calendar, Google Task, Google Prediction, Google Spreadsheet. Okay, so they have exposed their all these services in the form of API. So why they want to expose as a API? Because the third party can make use of those services via API. Okay. So Mule ESB provide various connectors. They provide various connectors like Google Prediction Connector, Google Task Connector, Google Calendar Connector, Google Spreadsheet Connector, Google Contact Connector, Google Drive RAML. Okay. So you can connect. So by using this connector, you can connect to the various Google APIs. Okay. So in last demo, we have already seen like how to connect Google Spreadsheet with Mule ESB. In this demo, we are going to see how to fetch the contact details from the Google Contact, okay, via API. Okay. So we will going to see uh, through a demonstration. Fine. So first thing, what we have to do, we have to go to Mule Palette and check for Google Contact connector. For me, it's already installed, but in your case, it will not be installed because it is not part of Mule Palette by default. You have to install it from Exchange, Anypoint Exchange. So you can click here, search Exchange for Google. So it will connect to the Exchange, Anypoint Exchange, and so you can install your connector from there. Okay. Now you can see like Google Spreadsheet, Google Task, Google Contact, all connectors available. Google Contact, RAML, and all those things. Now, for my case, the Google Contact connector is disabled. Yes, because my Google Contact connector is already installed in my Mule palette. So you can install it from here, from the Exchange. Yeah, it will take just 2 to 3 minutes to install the connector. Right? So now I will start with new application, file, new Mule project. I will say Google Contact API. Okay. So runtime, it's 3.8. It's default. In your case, there can be multiple runtime. You can select depending on your requirement. Rest of the setting, I will not going to touch. I will say next, next. Let's say finish. First thing, I will drag and drop HTTP listener component into the message into the canvas. I will going to configure it under general setting. I will go to connector configuration. I will click on this add button. I will keep all setting as a default. I will say OK. Path, I will say GC. Allow method, I will keep everything. Now, other thing, logger. I have to provide a logger. So in logger, I don't have to write any message. Now I will drag and drop Google Contact. So as you are aware, like Google API support authorization too. It means like you cannot directly send the request to the Google API. First, you have to generate the token. For generating the token, we will require the client ID and the client secret. It is sometimes it is also known as the consumer key and the consumer secret. So we have to copy. We can get those consumer key and consumer secret from the Google Developer Console. We will going to see it. So first, let me click on this add button. We will use first operation. We will use authorize. So let me click on this add button. So it requires consumer key and consumer secret. So what you have to do? You have to go to the API manager. Google. It is also known as Google Developer Console. First thing, you have to enable the API. For me, Google Contact API is already enabled. In case it is not enabled, you click on this enabled API. You have to search the Google Contact API here, and you just simply select. It will enable the Google Contact API. Now, once you enable that, you have to create the credentials. Okay. For creating the credential, click here, create credential, OAuth client ID, then say web application. Fine. So for me, credentials is already there, so I will copy. I will use same credentials. So this is my client ID. It is also known as a consumer key. So I will paste it here. Now client secret. Okay, I will paste it here. Okay. So now I have to set OAuth URL. So I will domain, I will say localhost. This is a callback URL. I will say port 3000. In path, I will say OAuth contact. Okay. Say OAuth contact. Fine. Now I will use other logger. So I will say you are authenticated. Fine. Let me enable the application. First, we will just check the authorization. Then we will check other operations. So I will say run. Yes. HTTP localhost. I will say 8081 GC. It will give an error like URI redirect mismatch. Okay, redirect URI mismatch. Why this error has come? I will tell you. So check, like you go to Google Contact again. Google Contact. If you see this authorization, it will be like HTTP 3000 OAuth contact. See, HTTP 3000 OAuth contact. Either what you have to do, copy this URL. Either you can add this URL here, okay, or either you can pick the one of the existing URL. So what I will do, I will do the pick the existing one. So what I can do, let me see, OAuth call. I will use this. Either you can add that URL or you can take the existing. So I will say OAuth call. So let me go to, I will change it to OAuth call. I will say okay. Let me stop the application again and I will run it. Okay, the application has been deployed. Now I will say HTTP localhost. Okay, this time it should not give an error because we have configured the correct callback URL. Okay, we got a successful here in logger. We can see you are authenticated. Okay, so now everything is fine. Now what we will do, either what you can do, you can create other flow to perform other operation, or and either you can use the same flow. If you are using the other flow, you have to store the token ID. So like when you are sending the request, authorize it is return back a token ID. So you can store the token ID into the object store. Okay, and in other flow, you can retrieve that token ID from the object store. So there is some expiration period for the token ID. Every 2 hours or something, like every two hours, you have to generate a new token ID. But in our case, what I will do, I will generate the token ID every time we are sending the request. So I will use same flow, Google Contact again. Let me select this. If you see, rest of the setting is already populated. Okay, so I will use get contact method. Get contact. Okay. Now connection. So how you can you have to provide a token ID, access token. This is the way you can provide the access, because whenever authorized message get a token ID, it's stored into a flow variable O auth access token ID, and so you can access using this syntax. Fine. Let me save it. Okay. Now once, let me check if application was deployed. Once application will deploy, we will going to test it again. So in this case, it should, okay, it will get us some result this time. See, we are getting we get a response, but it's saying we organize a mule streaming dot consumer iterator. So what we have to do, we have to transform, because there are a lot of record. So we have to use the iterator. So let me use transform message. If you use the transform, if you see, like your whatever result coming from the Google get contact, you can see the metadata for that. Okay. Now let me maximize this screen and we will start mapping. So first, what we will do, we want only email ID and the name. Let me minimize everything. This is email address. That's it. What I can do, you see, the top root node is payload. Payload, after that there is author, email address. So, but we want to read this family name, full name, and the email address. So, what we can do, the first thing I will say context, I will say payload, payload, I will say map, because there can be a multiple records. Okay. Now, what I have to read, I have to read name, I will say dollar dot full name. Now I have to read a family name. Suppose family name, I will say dollar dot family name. Now, if you see email address, this is also list. So now we have to one person can have a multiple email ID configure in your Google contact. Okay, this is my Google contact. So see, mm, okay. So there can be chances where like you can have a multiple email ID configure for one user. See for this example, here these are two. Okay, so we will going to see. We will start mapping now. What I will do, I will say dollar dot email addresses. 1 minute, something is not proper. First I have to write email addresses. I will say dollar dot email addresses. I will say map. So what I will do, e I will say email, now dollar dot address. Also I can have a label, dollar dot. Okay, if you see email address, so this is address and label. I am picking two things. Okay, other thing I can say primary, dollar dot primary. Right? It's saying like is a primary email ID. So you can see what is the label. This is the label email contact. These are various records into the label, and these are all the contact. If you click here on the, sorry, there is a primary and secondary email. Okay, so this is the mapping. Now I want to see phone number. I will say phone number, dollar dot phone number. Okay, I will say map because phone number can be a multiple. Okay, let me go to phone number now. This is phone numbers. Okay, I want label. I will say phone number. So I can say phone number, dollar dot. That's it. Now let me check the gender. If you want to show the gender, you can show. But I will show this much of information. I will save it. Let me pass the request again. Let's wait till we get a result back. See, you are authenticated. Now let's check what is the output we get. Okay. See, we got a output, but it's in the format of some object. So why it's happened? Because we forget output should be in the not application Java, it should be in JSON. See, now we got a proper output. See, okay. See, label is null for most of it, but I have one, like I can say email. See, there is a label for this. Okay, fine. So this is how you can retrieve the record. If you want to save the output to some location, you can say file and drag and drop file component here. Okay, I will create one folder into source test resources, that is the out folder. I will say finish. Okay, I will go into configure file connector. I will say source test resources out. Save it. Okay, once I will save it, it will deploy the application again. Okay, it is deployed. Now let me post the request again. Okay, now you cannot see output here because I am saving the output to the out folder. See, it has been saved to the out folder. Now what we will do, we will try to insert one record. I will remove everything. So for inserting record, what I am expecting, I want to insert email and name. So what I will do, I will pass the email and name in the query parameter. So first we need to read a two query parameter, email and name. So we will going to store in the flow variable. I will remove. Let me do one thing. I'm sorry. I have to copy this transform message because we will require it again. Okay, that's fine. I will remove this again. I will drag and drop two variable to read the email and name. So I will say set name, let's say message dot inbound properties dot http query parents dot name. Okay. The next I will is going to set email. Let's say email http sorry message dot inbound properties dot http query parents dot email. Okay. Now, okay, we have stored those parameters, but now we have to use the transformation as a before Google contact. Okay, and here we will change the method. Instead of get contact, I will say insert contact. Now you can see like, okay, wait, let me again drop a transform message. So you can see like all the metadata required. But we will not going to map everything. We just want to pass email and name. So what I will do, I will email. I can map to the email addresses here. Okay, email goes to this address. Fine. Next thing I want to map a name. So this is full name. So I will say name map to full name. So let me do one thing. This mapping has been done. I have done mapping from those two flow variables. In whom I will going to search one record. I will say Lakshmi. There is a no record with Lakshmi. Okay, not I will go in some other record. Let me say Brett. Let me. I don't have any record with a Brett in this list. So we will going to send a Brett and the email address for same. So let me do one thing. HTTP with local host 8081. I will say GC. I have to pass two parameter name equal to I will say Brett and email equals to at gmail.com. So let me do one thing. Save this application. The application has been deployed. Copy this. Okay, one thing we have to provide more, that is the label name. I forget that. So let me provide the label name. I will hard coded it. So label name you will find in email addresses. This is label name. Just double click. I will say email contact. I will save the application again. Let me 1 minute. I have done one more problem. I have to set payload. Set payload. I will say data inserted. I will save it again. Okay, that is fine. Okay, let me do one thing. I will say Brett is already added. I will say Brett one. See data inserted. Now I will again try. Okay, data is already inserted. Now what I will do? Let me remove this. I will again say get contact. Okay, I will copy this. I will take transformation at the output level. I will paste it. Okay, this is I save. Okay, let it save. Other thing, I will remove this variable. No need of this variable. I will save it. I will say localhost 8081 GC. So I want to check whether the Brett record has been added or not. So let me search Brett. See the Brett one. Okay, see Brett one is added with this email ID and the label email contact. Let me search other Brett is also added under. Okay, so this is how you can use your Google Contact connector to connect Google Contact API using Mule ESB. Hope you have enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.